Happy weekend from Fextralife. If you've been too busy to keep up on the latest in the games we cover, or are looking for a refresher, we've got your back. Let's take a look at the comings and goings across the Fextralife Wiki Network.
Moving like a soldier.
A new patch released this Friday, May 12th for Dark Souls 3. The changes to the patch are pretty numerous, and they address some issues related to the Ring City DLC, as well as the base game overall. You can check out the entire list of changes on our patches page on the wiki. Many weapons, spells, items, and skills receive some significant revisions in how they handle and operate for players. The game is already content complete, but From Software is still fine-tuning the game's balance. Thoughts on the patch? Let us know what you think in the comments. And speaking of patches, BioWare has released a new patch this week for Mass Effect Andromeda that addresses some changes for the game. The patch makes several adjustments to the game's opening cinematic scenes, as well as fixes several player-reported issues. Dialogue options now will also no longer appear grayed out if a character has more to say. They also made some major changes to multiplayer combat and powers. You can view the full list on our blog article. Are you still making your way through the first or new playthrough of Mass Effect Andromeda? Or are you digging into multiplayer more? What are your thoughts on the patch? Let us know what you think about him in the comments. ZeniMax Online has announced that Elder Scrolls Online players on PC who purchase a digital upgrade version of the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind will be able to play the full game live on May 22nd and retain their progression when the expansion officially launches on June 6th. Players will also be able to download the accompanying Update 14 on May 22nd. Early access is automatically available for players who purchase the upgrade or Collector's Edition upgrade anytime prior to launch. If you're an existing ESO player who has pre-ordered or pre-purchased a physical copy of Morrowind, you'll be able to join the early access event after taking a few simple steps, which you can see on the blog article. Furthermore, they showed off some of the new player housing options that will be available with the expansion. The Ald-Velothi Harbor House, which is a medium home, and the Amaya Lake Lodge, which is a large home. Not done with reveals, this week they also gave players a preview of the new Halls of Fabrication trial that is coming with the expansion. Dungeon lead Mike Finnegan gave players some tips. They recommend 2 tanks for the dungeon, and you'll be facing off with not just enemies, but the environment. There'll be a variety of traps, hazards, spinning blades, and more to look out for. All in all, the trial will have 5 bosses to defeat, with less enemies between them in order to restore the focus back to boss fights. Clearing the trial will earn you some new and valuable armor sets, furnishings, and new achievements depending on how well you perform. Morrowind is presently in closed beta on the public test server on PC, and is releasing for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC on June 6th. Until then, keep checking back with us for much more. Devolver Digital and Slowclap have announced that their upcoming online combat RPG Absolver is releasing August 29th for the PS4 and PC. To mark the announcement, they have released a new combat trailer which you can see in full on our channel. The video takes a look at the 2 primary components of Absolver, the combat deck and combat styles. The combat deck is a list of attacks that are available to the players in combat. Players can choose one of 4 stances, and in each they have different attacks. Every attack starts and finishes in a certain stance, so players can play around with how they start and finish to set up their opponents. You can learn attacks for your deck by fighting others in the world, by defending against unknown attacks. To actually earn attack XP though, you have to win your fights. Your combat style is chosen at the start, and the different styles improve your different stats. Each has a special ability that can be used during combat for an advantage. With the 3 available at start, you can parry, avoid, or absorb attacks. More styles can be discovered as players discover the world of wrestling. You'll also be able to become a mentor and teach others your style, allowing your students to learn new styles and their mentor's combat deck. The fight mechanics complement the depth of the system. A perfect attack rewards precise timing by allowing following attacks to chain faster and stun longer. You can also use feints to cancel attacks. It's not just hand-to-hand though, there are weapons available, and these will also come with their own combat deck. It's pretty intense stuff overall. We got to play Absolver for ourselves last E3 and found the combat very engaging. PvP enthusiasts may be in for a treat when it drops this August. In a developer update for Divinity Original Sin 2, Larian Studios has unveiled the Game Master mode that players will be able to immerse themselves in with fellow players. Game Master mode will let players create stories, NPCs, items, treasure, and more and control the entire presentation. The mode is designed to be flexible, giving the GM and players the freedom to adapt on the fly and create reactive worlds. The mode will come with pre-made campaigns, as well as a variety of world maps and over 100 locations to choose from when designing your own. You can also upload your own stuff and locations by using the Divinity Engine editor. Once the game's going, a GM will be able to control any enemy NPC directly. For narrative, you can add graphics, NPC dialogue, and present difficult choices with the game's vignette system. You can also make these additions on the fly if you need to react to something unexpected right then and there. Everything you create can then be shared via Steam Workshop, which should give fans a ton of great content to keep them going long past completing the main game. It's exciting to think about what players are going to come up with, as you can bet there's going to be hilarity and great storytelling. Game Master modes have been attempted before in games like Sword Coast Legends, but they've always had mixed results. The way Larian is laying this down has us very hopeful. Hellpoint from Cradle Games has hit their Kickstarter funding goal just the day before the campaign ended. For those who haven't seen much of the sci-fi Souls-like game, their demo was updated recently with a new boss to try out to give players a better idea of the Souls-like gameplay. You can check out the footage of this boss on our channel. The boss overall is not particularly quick, and avoiding damage isn't difficult. It does hit hard, not quite one-shot territory, but definitely can do it in two. Its moves and patterns are reasonable enough to react to. Visually, the design is great, and it fits with the horror vibe well, and is a much more distinctly defined creature than the standard enemies in the game. You can see from the promising boss fight that the game has a bunch of potential. Be sure to download the demo on Steam to see for yourself. Dead Cells Early Access is now available for players on Steam. The Roguevania game from indie developer Motion Twin features permadeath and Souls-inspired combat while unfolding across a Metroidvania-style layout. The early access to the game features 11 levels, 20 monsters, 50 items, and several hours of gameplay, anywhere from 45 minutes to 30 hours depending on your skill. It's quite a range. The game is launching at $16.99, and the entire package will contain nearly half of the planned content, of which the developer anticipates will take 8 months to finish. We just last week put together a preview of the game, which you can watch to get an idea of the roguelike with a twist gameplay. The gameplay of Dead Cells looks promising even from the perspective of a masochistic player. It seems to be taking the best of things we love about games like Castlevania, Salt and Sanctuary, and Rogue Legacy, and applying its own unique approach. Planning to pick it up? Let us know what you think about it. Diablo 3 is still kicking on for fans, and at BlizzCon last year, Blizzard announced that a new class, the Necromancer, would be releasing sometime later 2017 as part of the paid Rise of the Necromancer pack. In addition to unlocking the class, players will also receive a pet, 2 additional slots, 2 stash tabs, a portrait frame, pennant, banner, and sigil. For those interested in what the Necromancer brings to the popular hack-and-slash RPG loot fest, we put together an article to give an overview of the upcoming class. The class entered into beta on April 25th for players to test out and refine. When it does release, it'll be able to be played in a campaign and adventure with full voice acting and lore. In gameplay, Necromancers are going to function in a similar way to those in Diablo 2. Core stat is intelligence, and in combat rely on a variety of skills and spells, including curses and some undead minions. A wrinkle unique to the class will be the corpses of monsters that they can see alone, which can be used as catalysts for their corpse-related skills. For a better idea of how these dynamic skills function, check out the full skill and set list for the Necromancer class on the blog. The Rise of the Necromancer pack and the accompanying patch 2.6.0 will release sometime later this year. Check out some of the previews on the blog we did this week, spanning a variety of subgenres within the RPG genre. This week we took a look at Dark and Light, God Wars Future Past, and Fort Triumph. Dark and Light from Snail Games is an upcoming online sandbox RPG set in a world dominated by powerful elemental forces. It's scheduled to hit early access on PC sometime soon, and they're aiming for a full release by the end of 2017. Dark and Light is looking to take the massive online survival gameplay of Conan Exiles and go a step further by actually adding an RPG framework with faction gameplay. It's had its bumps along the way over the past decade, but if it can deliver on the deep magic and build-craft sandbox gameplay, it could be quite the freeing game, similar to the build, defend, destroy potential of other MMO sandbox Camelot Unchained. Next, we took a look at God Wars Future Past. The historical backdrop and Japanese folklore gives God Wars an exploratory setting that lends itself well to the deep tactical RPG genre. Giving context to the battle grids, as well as the deep and complex job system, makes the game more approachable from a gameplay perspective. Under the hood, it's a deep game with a lot going on, and should be right up the alley of those with an interest in tactical and thoughtful turn-based battling, as well as an interest in Japan's more esoteric lore. Fort Triumph has the potential to be a fun tactical RPG in the XCOM vein, albeit from a completely different fantasy perspective. It's a little clunkier than its inspiration, but it's still in its very early development stage, having just entered Kickstarter recently. Regardless, I would not expect it to evolve along the lines of a Phoenix Point that is shaping up to be a one-to-one emulation of XCOM, and instead see Fort Triumph staying closer to its fantasy RPG elements while building upon its highly interactive environments. If some of the camera issues can get sorted out, and if the story can deliver an engaging yarn, Fort Triumph could be a very fun journey for fans of tactical games. You can download their demo on their Kickstarter page. And that's a wrap for the Week in Wikis. We're looking forward to another great week of gaming fun. Don't forget to check out our VIP program for some exclusive supporter benefits, and budding writers should take advantage of our Become an Author initiative. Thanks for a great week, and as always, keep checking in with us for news, reviews, YouTube streams and videos, and general wiki goodness. Follow us on social media for all the latest and greatest. The more followers we get, the larger the army of the Fexes grows.